Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Purposefully Planning the Road to Recruitment. Each of you are likely at a different place in terms of recruitment, and we really want to help you create, implement, enhance, and evaluate your recruitment plan. Although plans can and do change, it's a great idea to have a sense of where you want to go and how you want to get there. And it's essential to have a flexible plan that you can adjust as needed if you have trouble recruiting, if you recruit too many people, or if you simply just need or want to change the way you do your recruitment. When you successfully recruit good quality applicants and maintain consistent and effective communication with them, it really helps you better retain them throughout the recruitment process and their year of service. Today you will hear from two CNCF staff members throughout the presentation. My name is Eric Powell, and I'm an AmeriCorps Vista training specialist at the Corporation for National and Community Service in Washington, D.C. And I'm happy to say I'm a proud Vista member alum from 2006 and a Vista leader alum from 2008.
Hello everyone, I'm Brian Mitterer, and I am the AmeriCorps Vista data analyst, also at the Corporation for National and Community Service in Washington, D.C. And so data analyst means that I take all of the administrative data that we have from the My AmeriCorps and eGrants web applications and build tools for staff and help answer questions that help us run the AmeriCorps Vista program more effectively and more efficiently. Also joining us are Mike and Kim from our partners at LSI, who will be managing the Zoom webinar technology. You will also see them in the chat panel posting some links and questions, as well as assisting with various aspects of the webinar.
The session goals for this presentation that we plan to accomplish focus on you being able to outline the elements of a recruitment plan, describe tools and key milestones to support the applicant throughout the entire application process, populate a recruitment timeline based on the anticipated Vista member orientation date, and identify who you plan to target for recruitment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. Today we'll cover quite a few things. Vista recruitment stages. We'll highlight the typical stages of recruitment and then spend the majority of this presentation exploring each one in more detail. When we talk about creating a recruitment plan, what do you need to know? Who needs to be involved? And a whole lot more. We'll briefly talk about recruitment barriers and challenges because we know that things don't always turn out the way we want, and we'll discuss some common barriers and propose a few ideas on how to overcome them. We'll then have time to answer several of your questions, segueing into Vista Campus resources, where we'll highlight some materials, webinars, and templates created by Vista headquarters and other Vista projects to help you plan for recruitment. And we'll end our presentation with an evaluation and next steps, reviewing your feedback and giving you specific ideas as to how you can continue in your recruitment. But first, we'll turn our attention to the stages of Vista recruitment.
And now we start by reviewing the stages of the Vista recruitment process. We will discuss each stage in depth throughout this session. This is a good place to acknowledge that we have a variety of approaches for recruitment depending on your role. For example, we have intermediaries, single-site supervisors, and sub-site supervisors who may be involved with recruitment in a variety of ways depending on the project. Whatever your role may be, the stages of AmeriCorps Vista recruitment are the same. You plan, you market, you screen, you interview, you select, and finally, you onboard.
And although we have not yet gone into some of the details of each of these stages, we'll be doing that in just a minute. We're going to have a quick poll, which you should see on your screen. We'll leave it open for a very short period of time, but go ahead and answer the question, in which stage of the AmeriCorps Vista recruitment process are you at this point? Plan, market, screen, interview, select, onboard, and serve. Or you may not be sure because you're new or you're involved in multiple of those at the same time. We're just specifically talking about right now, based on what you know about your Vista project, which stage are you in? You can only select one, and we know that you may have Vista members that started at different times. So your recruitment is an ongoing process where you may be selecting and onboarding some Vista members while also adjusting your plan and marketing to fill other positions. And then finally, I'll just add in that, of course, each of these stages has sub-stages and incremental steps necessary to complete that stage. One example, marketing may involve creating print or electronic materials, knowing whom you want to market and when, etc. So it looks like most people have finished the poll, so we'll go ahead and close it now and take a brief look at the results. And based on what we see in the poll and the information that was provided, it looks like a large majority of people are still in the planning phase.
And we have almost a third of people saying that they're in the marketing phase. And let's see, a handful saying that they're in the screening phase, interviewing phase, some onboard and serve, and a small number, not sure, it looks like 5%.
Yes, it's quite a lot. So thank you for that quick poll. It's always good to see in a webinar where people are and how we can best support them. These responses also help us to remember that before embarking on any planning process, you need to get clarity on your goals and other important elements that will guide your plan. And remember, you can always post your questions at any time during this presentation in the chat panel, and we'll try to answer them during or specifically towards the end of the presentation.
Start by reviewing the Vista project goals and outcomes. What do you really want to accomplish? Specify both the 3-year project goals and objectives and the goals and outcomes for the current year. Remember, the Vista project is for a 3-year period, and the skills needed for year 1 may be different from skills needed in years 2 or 3. Be clear about what's needed for all stages of the project. In addition, it is important to identify the special skills and knowledge the candidate must possess and/or be willing to acquire in order to meet the responsibilities, goals, and outcomes of the position. It's important to identify the top 5 responsibilities the successful Vista candidate will have to perform. And it's important to identify the top 5 personal effectiveness competencies the successful Vista candidate will need to arrive with in order to perform successfully. Who, what, when, where, and how. Begin with the end in mind. Identify where it is that you want to end up. And plan backwards. Look to the end date and back up to include holidays, downtime, etc. What is required to achieve the desired outcome? Is it time, money, resources, tasks? How much of your time will this require? And how should you schedule it with everything else you have to handle? What other resources can you anticipate that you'll need, and where do you relocate them or reshuffle them? Who will help with the recruitment process? Who can you identify? Who can you depend on? It doesn't always have to be someone in your office. Think outside the box. This could be a good project for a class, a group, an advisory board, etc. Where can you find good quality candidates? $1 million question. Well, that depends on what you're looking for. You must have clarity with that first. Lastly, timelines are critical. So what do we think is the most critical time?
And speaking of time, let's do a quick chat activity to discover the most important date that you feel is critical to knowing how to build your recruitment plan. So as you can see on the screen, the question is specifically, what do you think is the most important date to know when building your recruitment plan? See what people have to say, see what ideas are coming in the chat. I see a lot of movement. Some people are saying the start date of the Vista member orientation and registration date, recruitment deadline. I see someone else mentions the date that candidates are due in the portal. So a lot of good ideas, a lot of responses, and I will say there's not necessarily a wrong answer because what's most important to you is what's most important to your recruitment and timeline. But based on what I see in the chat and based on our experience, we feel that the correct answer is the Vista member orientation date, which also happens to be the Vista member's first day of service. And we'll explain why in a minute. We'll also explain more about timelines and why this date is so important, especially as Brian just mentioned, to begin with the end in mind. But first, we're going to walk through a few other key inputs that you'll need to build your recruitment plan. The Vista member orientation, we of course love acronyms, so we call it the VMO or VMO, but I'm going to say the Vista member orientation, is the process by which the Vista program prepares Vista candidates for service and really helps them begin their full year service term. It's an opportunity for them to learn the history of AmeriCorps Vista, understand the do's and don'ts, focus on alleviating poverty as the core mission of Vista, learn about their benefits and how to use them, and is an opportunity for them to meet others who are starting service at the same time. The start date of this orientation is the same as the first day they report to their service site. They participate in the webinar at your service site, and you have a key role in ensuring that the Vista is on this required webinar at the correct time and not scheduling something else in its place. On the webinar, in addition to learning and sharing information, they take the oath of service. And I'll quickly say there's more details, as you can see on the starting Vista page of the Vista campus, but this Vista member orientation includes 2 webinars. One is called Countdown to Vista Service. That one takes place 6 or 7 days before their start date. And the second webinar is Launching Your Vista Service, which takes place on their first day of service. So the number of Vista members you want is another key consideration. You really want to plan to keep track of all of your candidates for all the positions you have. For example, when do you anticipate the Vista member starting? Does their start date need to coincide with the start of a school year, depending on your project? Does it need to coincide with the Vista member's supervisor's vacation time in case the supervisor wants to be out for a certain period of time? Carefully think through each phase of the recruitment process to consider the tasks or activities, who's going to do the work, and when does it need to be completed. To help you gather this information, we really want to point out 2 key resources for planning. You can access both of these resources by downloading the Helpful Links handout from the link posted in the chat panel. First, we have a Creating a Recruitment Plan worksheet that's on the Vista Campus website that helps you outline the major next steps that are needed to get your recruitment plan off the ground. Second, you can take a look at the Vista Recruitment Checklist for a list of sample tasks needed for each phase. Both documents are in Word format, so you can customize them for your program and adjust them based on your needs. Now we're going to move on and take a look at the elements of a solid recruitment plan.
Elements of a good recruitment plan include, but may not be limited to, outlining the steps in your marketing, screening, interviewing, and selection process. In other words, know what you want and what you don't want. Developing your recruitment task list, be specific with details for small and large tasks. It may include drafting your recruitment timeline. Remember, start at the end and work backwards, perhaps giving yourself a little leeway as needed. A good recruitment plan may include setting up tracking systems, putting them on your calendar and setting alerts. Make sure that you and any others working on recruitment know how they work. The plan may include identifying staff and their roles. Whether you do it or someone else does it, be clear about what has to be done. Think outside the box as to who can help do this work if you are a one-person operation. The plan may include preparing for the interview. Develop or adapt supplemental questionnaires, considering the critical interview questions you need and want, and update Vista project information that you will share with applicants. Each of these elements is essential as you consider how you will recruit, as well as how to document your process to make recruitment a little easier the next time around. Another critical factor in recruitment planning is timing. A resource that is available to you on the Vista campus is the Vista Member Recruitment Calendar. The calendar was developed years ago by Vista leaders and recently adjusted by Vista staff to keep it updated and relevant. Based on your communications with your CNCS state or regional office about when you can bring on new Vista members, you enter the date of your member's expected Vista member orientation and the spreadsheet automatically calculates your recommended milestones while allowing you to track key recruitment deadlines. Certainly, you can adapt this as needed, especially if you know that your project has additional recruitment steps not identified here. To best prepare applicants for service and set their expectations in advance, you should also let applicants know about requirements of service and deadlines to meet. They will attend a webinar the Tuesday prior to starting service at 3 p.m. Eastern titled Countdown to Vista Service that will provide them critical information they should know to successfully prepare for Vista service, including details about relocation if applicable, the criminal history check process, and more. In addition, they will attend a required webinar at their service site on their first day of service, also at 3 p.m. Eastern, titled Launching Your Vista Service, that provides information about the Vista program mission, the Vista assignment description, or VAD, about resources and support, and the oath of service to officially induct Vista candidates into Vista members. When communicating with those individuals whom you've selected, and when planning your on-site orientation and training, or OSAT, you will need to inform the candidates of these details and make time for this and ensure your members are on this webinar while also providing them an overview in advance of your on-site orientation and training plan. Make it work for you while also factoring in real-life obstacles and opportunities that may require slight adjustments. And have fun with it, because recruiting really can be a blast as you meet new individuals and really showcase how amazing your organization and this opportunity is to them.
I have to say, I love recruiting, and sometimes I wish I was back in that realm. But right now I'm in training, so let's focus on training.
Behind you.
So now let's take a look at the marketing phases of recruitment, which include, which should be no surprise to all of you, the VAD or Vista assignment description, the service opportunity listings, outreach and advertising, and sometimes challenges and opportunities. We'll start with the VAD. Absolutely critical to successful recruitment, placement, and retention is a well-written VAD, specifically crafted for that position, for that candidate, for that year of service. You want to make sure that you develop a clear, concise, and believable VAD that not only makes sense to you, but will really be understood by someone new to the community and to the organization. Since the VAD is essentially the job description for the Vista members, it's imperative that it is well written. If you have any questions or need help crafting a clear, concise, and believable VAD, a lot of words in there, look for an upcoming live webinar on Tuesday, April 21st, focused on developing and writing strong, effective VADs. Also, in terms of the VAD, you want to make sure that you complete, submit, and get approval for your VADs from your CNCF state or regional office. They must approve the initial VAD as well as any occasional changes made. Make sure that your VADs do not contain direct service and that they do focus on capacity building activities. Brainstorm the personal and professional competencies that match your organizational needs in the VAD. Also, here's I think an innovative idea. Imagine potential Vista members for your program and tailor your outreach and opportunity listings toward this ideal framework. Be clear of what types of Vistas are needed for your project, whether it's community-based or national recruits. That will depend on how you do recruitment. Seek clarity about what's needed and familiarity with community and/or skills that you need to address those skills. Focus on which attributes are needed and which ones you can teach. Now that you've set up your recruitment timeline and are beginning to or maybe have developed your VADs, it's time to start marketing and create an opportunity listing.
Create a one-page opportunity listing for my.americorps.gov based on your list of competencies, the VAD, and your ideal candidate profile. A service opportunity listing is similar to a job description and is the main source of information about the position. The listing must be uploaded to eGrants so that applicants can view it on myamericorps.gov. Be creative with your information and descriptions. What distinguishes your program and responsibilities from all the others out there? Why should the potential Vista applicants, consider your program? what's in it for them, and have you articulated that in a way to attract your desired candidate? In order to help you craft your opportunity listing, Vista has developed a job aid to help you get started that can be found on the Vista campus. This resource includes a list of the required elements and fields to create an opportunity listing in eGrants and information to help you create the post and to post the opportunity listing. Consider the following when crafting your listing. The first thing they will see is your 2-line teaser, which is limited to roughly 200 characters. Your teaser will appear in a long list with other teasers, so it needs to stand out. For the full listing, be sure to include who you are. What is your organization, mission, history, and role in the community? Where are you located? What are the benefits, unique features of your location? What will members do? Use the VAD to develop a brief list of tasks and activities. Use active words that convey challenge and excitement, and that describe the capacity building activities your members will do. What attributes and skills are you looking for? Do you need someone with specific experience, or could you train someone to do the assignment? Why should people join your project? What are the benefits of serving with your project? What will they learn? What will they accomplish? What do you offer that's unique? What are the start and end dates of your project and Vista positions? The start dates of your Vista positions are likely not going to line up with the start date of your project, and people want to plan ahead and know when they would be expected to start service. How does someone get more information? What contact information do you provide? Be it phone number, email address, or social media contact. For those of you looking to boost your work on opportunity listings, on the supervisor's webinars page of the Vista campus, you can find a recorded and on-demand webinar, which was recorded on April 2nd of 2019, titled Crafting Compelling Service Opportunity Listings. Once you have uploaded the opportunity listing through eGrants to my.americorps.gov, it's time to get the word out about your position. You will want to identify strategies to reach potential candidates who match the personal and professional competencies you are seeking. You will also want to identify community groups and agencies that have direct contacts with your target groups. Networking with them can create awareness and help bring you new recruits, aid you in identifying more places to advertise, assist you in forming partnerships, and give you ideas on how to design future activities, especially focused on recruitment and marketing. I like this slide because it features some of the data that I produced a while back. So moving on, baby boomers who have recently retired, may be the largest group of skilled workers available, and yet recent college graduates tend to be the largest group that apply to AmeriCorps Vista, as you can see in the demographics on the screen. There's room for both, but the messaging, marketing, and outreach is likely different for each group. We also encourage you to ramp up your non-traditional recruiting efforts. While university recruiting is a tried and true strategy, we encourage your organization to explore alternative talent sources like accelerated training programs, boot camps, local community colleges, and community organizations. Some examples include Dress for Success, the Goodwill Industries Career Center, as well as Job Corps. You don't have to start from scratch. On the Helpful Links handout, you'll find a resource with a link to dozens of nonprofit organizations and initiatives to help you expand your non-traditional recruiting efforts. Develop your message and write your opportunity listing for myamericorps.gov based on your list of competencies, the VAD, and your ideal candidate profile. Then submit and get approval for your opportunity listing from your CNCS state or regional office. We also encourage you to ramp up your, already been there? Let's see, transitioning to the next slide. Consider numerous places to advertise. Plan to post your opportunity listing in eGrants, which will appear on myamericorps.gov, and please, please, please do not let that be the only place you advertise. Advertise your position via word of mouth, on print flyers, on social media, on your organization's website, in your email signature, and other places. Some people find it effective to advertise on Craigslist.org, Idealist.org, and other sites. Be prepared to market your program to potential applicants. Remember that they will be interviewing you too. Find a way to have a short message explaining your Vista project to capture their attention, and then tell the story that will get them motivated to apply. And remember to be innovative and engaging. Don't carry a "we've never done it that way before" attitude, because this is your opportunity to try something new and try something fresh to boost your recruitment. Here's some more examples. You could consider hosting a coffee house chat. This is something that's easier to do with a locally owned place. You might be able to offer discounts to attendees. You could consider setting up a recruitment table at a local commencement practice. Connect with the Career Development Department on a local campus for possibilities and arrangements.
So we've talked a lot about recruitment so far. We still have a ways to go, but we really want to get a feel for which of these marketing techniques have worked well for you. So you'll see a poll show up on the screen in a minute, and this is not just for us to get an idea and share with our marketing outreach and recruitment unit, but also that all of you can figure out, well, if most people say Idealist works well for them, maybe it's a hint that it's something that you could try and see if it works for you. So as you can see on the screen, we gave you 8 options. Again, there's one that's also not sure if you're new or are just getting into this practice, but take a few more seconds to really think about what techniques from your experience seem to have worked well in terms of helping you get really good quality candidates. We know sometimes this question is a catch because how do you define if it's working or not? Do you consider a technique working if you get lots of people expressing interest via that mechanism? Or is it only a success if you get quality candidates who end up serving with your project? Ultimately, your response will help other individuals on this webinar think about if they want to adjust or adapt how they recruit. And before we close the poll, I'll finally mention that we know that many people in organizations are looking more and more to different things like online marketing, websites, social media, which is great, especially because it works for a lot of people. But there are also still so many benefits to word-of-mouth storytelling. There's truly nothing like it. Brian and I were talking not too long ago about how just the power of storytelling makes such an impact. You need to know what works for you and for your project, and be flexible about techniques and things that work. So we'll go ahead and close the poll now, take a look at the results. It looks like, from what we can tell, out of the people that filled out the poll, about 27% of people said the technique that works well for them is recruiting on my.americorps.gov, which is great. I'll quickly insert one thing here and say, make sure that's not the only place you recruit. Oftentimes you can get good feedback and other things from your website and social media, but this is great to know that my.americorps.gov works for a lot of people. And then second, Brian and I are very happy to hear word of mouth can be very effective. Again, knowing your audience makes a huge difference. You want to be clear with your advertising so that people understand the eligibility criteria, the rules and regulations about Vista and specifically joining your program, what's expected of them, what they should expect, information about the Vista benefits, and more. So although it's not always about me and what's in it for me as an applicant, people really want to know how something will benefit them personally, professionally, financially, and more. So make sure your advertising helps them clearly see that. Again, you may have to customize and target your advertising to different groups. For example, college students may be really excited to know how they can use the non-competitive eligibility, or NCE, benefit after completing a year of service, whereas a retired senior may be more driven by a commitment to the community. You may even be able to help potential applicants see how the opportunity will be a win for them and a win for the organization and the community, because the Vista member gains real-life experience and makes meaningful connections with you and the community. The community gains knowledge and resources as a result of Vista member service. The Vista project gains additional support for sustainability and building capacity. and the community wins a deeper knowledge into how they can eliminate poverty. All of this is possible, and yes, you can do it. You can sow some of this in your marketing and outreach by using active verbs and adjectives, avoiding unknown acronyms that confuse people and turn them away, making sure that you highlight benefits for the member and the community, and acknowledging how Vista members make a difference. It's powerful. You can also do this during the interview when you have a chance to talk to the applicant more about the position. So be sure to solicit feedback on your recruitment ideas and materials from internal staff and volunteers, individuals in the community who know nothing about AmeriCorps Vista, because oftentimes external outsiders can give you the most insight you might need, and additional individuals. Ask them if they understand the position, if it sounds exciting and appealing, and if there's something else they feel you should do to add to enrich what you've already developed. So now we're going to move to talking about some recruitment examples. Recruitment in general, especially in rural areas that are difficult to find or attract applicants, may be more effective if it has the personal touch and connection to the community. So again, create your plan in such a way that you may not have to do as much work as you think. Include recent retirees and people who are mid-career in your marketing, because they may have the time available and the skill set to be of service to your Vista project. Friends of current volunteers may also be a great source, as well as houses of worship and civic and social organizations who already have built-in networks and may be service-minded. And just as we talked about last month, just as many people are attracted to the Peace Corps for its amazing international experience and immersion, you can recruit local and national applicants by using innovative approaches to telling the story of your community and advertising it as a domestic adventure. Think about commercials or advertisements you've seen that make remote and seemingly desolate places look riveting and exciting. Definitely make sure you tell the truth and talk about the reality of what your location does not have and what it does have. We know that urban communities may depend more heavily on social media to identify candidates. So again, you can use social media, you can use my.americorps.gov, utilize as many great resources as you can, as well as schools and civic and social organizations as well. So finally on the slide, we'll talk about urban recruiting. We know some projects are urban, some are rural, but with a lot of the challenges, sometimes the opposite situation occurs where some projects just so happen to get too many applicants, or applicants drop out because they may have been mostly attracted to the urban location and not necessarily the specific Vista position. No matter what type of recruitment you are doing, never underestimate the power of good, down-to-earth, homegrown storytelling. Can't say it enough. It worked for me, and I know it can work for many other people. So here's another quick chat question. What other locations or strategies have you used to effectively recruit quality Vista candidates? Now this question is specifically for you. A lot of you talked about previously wanting resources and ideas. Since you all are out there doing the specific recruiting, what other ideas do you have to share that have worked well for you, or you think could work well for you that other supervisors on this webinar could benefit from? Go ahead and enter your ideas in the chat panel. And again, make sure that you send your message to all panelists and attendees. So I see Connor says reaching out to all college career departments. That's a great idea, not just looking at their alumni or their career development center, but reaching out to all departments in a college, because a lot of them have service centers or other programs. Melissa mentions our client alumni social media database. That's great. I see reaching out to local universities has been successful. We know that that's successful for a lot of people, not everyone, but definitely utilize the colleges and universities in your area. And I really like, of course, I can't see who posted it because the chat's moving really quickly, but someone specifically said, oh, Connor mentioned reaching out to people with lived experience. That's great, acknowledging that you may or may not need someone specifically with a college degree or a certain experience, but someone who has 3, 5, 10 years of experience, depending on the project you're looking for, is wonderful. Libraries and colleges, connecting with nonprofits, community agencies. Keep these ideas coming, because as we continue with a lot of the content in the webinar, we want to make sure that you capture some ideas that might work for you, or things that may may be a surprise to you and you think, oh, I never thought about that. Let me see if that could work for our project. So let's take another quick look at today's agenda as we move forward. We've already talked about the stages of recruitment and how they're integral in the creation and implementation of a recruitment plan. We then briefly walked through ways that you can develop your own recruitment plan, offering some ideas on that you can consider. We'll now move into briefly exploring some of the barriers and challenges to recruitment.
Thanks, Eric. It's important to be mindful of several barriers and obstacles to recruitment, as Eric mentioned. So let's for a moment put ourselves in the shoes of the Vista applicants. So one potential barrier, the highly computerized intake process may exclude some candidates. Another potential barrier is if we don't, as recruiters don't have clarity about which type of candidate we prefer. So for example, a candidate with a lot of community-based experience and exposure versus a candidate without that community experience, but they do have a focused set of skills that might be important for the role. So that clarity piece and what we're looking for. Another potential barrier would be housing uncertainties. Housing uncertainties can discourage good candidates. A good job market may encourage candidates to take a full-time job instead of serving as a Vista. And another potential barrier is if we are not effective in presenting the opportunities of serving, this could tip someone to choose a different opportunity. For example, one benefit, the living allowance, can really work to someone's advantage if they are in school or in between undergrad and grad school, or if they are on Social Security and can earn additional income through outside income. Another potential pitfall is that we might not do a good job talking about the post-Vista member benefits, such as non-competitive eligibility and accrued student loan interest during the year of service potentially being paid off. So how do we turn the barriers into opportunities? It's all about how we view the situation. Here are some examples. Someone with challenges accessing technology could really benefit from simply you directing them to where the library is, or better yet, allowing them the use of your office. Complications with navigating a computer can be overcome with a little bit of assistance from you. Determining if you want national or local recruits is really going to benefit you from when it comes to knowing your area, the resources you need, and being aware of the Vista relocation benefits. Or rather, clarity on those items will help you determine what direction to take with your recruitment. Another point is that difficulty getting applicants because of your project's location is something that can be ameliorated if you showcase your location as an adventure destination and accurately talk about the great assets that your location has to offer. Finding ways to offer other benefits to those who feel that the living allowance may not be enough really also might help to supercharge your recruitment. Examples include providing housing or a housing subsidy, which would go to the Vista's landlord, not directly to the Vista member, or offering a monthly public transportation pass, helping Vista members to understand how people local to the community live in the area, etc. Lastly, presentation of opportunity works when you explain to Vista applicants how they will benefit during and after their year of service. So take the time to have internal and external staff review your ideas, get tips from other Vista members, leaders, and supervisors, and help Vista applicants understand just why this program is so special. Also remember the incredible power of storytelling, as Eric mentioned, and capture your current and past Vista members' stories to assist you in recruiting. A real-life, compelling story can turn someone's obstacles into opportunities.
The next step in the recruitment cycle is screening. And no, we're not talking about movie screening, although that sounds really exciting. We're talking about screening for Vista candidates. Prepare your benefits and limitations of service, such as the terms and conditions, and all the other information to share during your pre-screening activities. Conduct pre-screening activities that include phone calls, giving out an applicant living allowance sample budget, different ideas to really get people engaged and help them understand what they're getting themselves into so that you know that you're getting someone who's interested in the program. In round one, you want to narrow your list of applicants. Once you've narrowed your list of applicants, you'll want to apply your screening and selection criteria so that you don't want to have, if you have 10 positions and you have 100 applicants, you have to narrow them at some point. If you're an intermediary, you'll want to work with your sub-site supervisors to identify where each Vista will serve and how you'll place them at different sites. Then, in round two, you'll continue to narrow your list of applicants by reviewing and rating applicants and materials, doing interviews, etc. Some of you may have a round three, depending on how many applicants you have, and that includes further narrowing your list of applicants so you can get closer to your target number of Vista candidates. And even after narrowing your list of applicants and identifying who you feel may be best suited for the position, unfortunately, your first choice may encounter life experiences or other choices and drop out. This is a reality, but if you do keep a list of backups or people on a wait list, do not promise them the position, but let them know that they're on a wait list, and of course, above all, be honest with them about the situation. When you get to the interview stage, keep in mind that the interview is a two-way interview. You're interviewing them, they're interviewing you. Be consistent in the questions you ask all candidates to make your selection easier and you can compare them. Be specific within your interview panel about why you're asking a specific question and what you hope to gain from it. If you'd like examples of interview questions and a list of interview questions, you can visit the link that's going to be posted in the chat panel in a minute, and you can visit the Vista Campus Recruitment section Interviewing Resource page. Finally, put yourself in their place. If they're relocating to a new town or city, think about the challenges and needs they would have as a Vista member in their new environment, since they might be nervous, find it difficult to make friends, or other. If the Vista candidate is serving in their hometown or locally, help the candidate to understand their new role as a Vista member.
As part of the interview process, you will want to contact the Vista applicant's references for additional information. When you determine an applicant is a good fit, then you offer them the position. Remember that you are selecting them for the position, but it is officially the CNCS state or regional office who approves the member for service. Then you will explain the next steps to the applicant so that they know their official start date, what they must do before starting service, who their point of contact and supervisor is, so that they are well prepared for Vista service. Inform the Vista candidate of required next steps. Once you select them in eGrants, they must log into their myamericorps.gov account to accept the offer. Then the CNCS state or regional office, hopefully, approves the individual to serve and schedules them for a Vista member orientation. Once scheduled for a Vista member orientation, the candidate will have access to and must complete onboarding forms in myamericorps.gov for living allowance and other payments from CNCS. At the same time, the candidate must create a Vista Campus account and complete the required pre-work courses. Candidates should print out a copy of their VAD from myamericorps.gov and write down any comments and questions relating to the VAD. And after selecting the individual, it is essential that you provide the candidate the contact information for the direct supervisor and anyone else who would be answering questions they have prior to starting service.
So here are just a couple of really big issues that can cause candidates to drop out before starting service. We never want that to happen, but it's a good idea to quickly review them so you can try to prevent it as much as possible. Do what you can to retain the individual you have selected before they arrive service. Check in with them on a weekly basis is one of our suggestions. Provide them information to explore, tidbits about the community, information about poverty in the area, and answer their questions. Get them excited about service. Let them know that you value them and you're excited for them. It's common for individuals to apply to multiple service positions. Some of them submit their applications for 5, 6, 10 different positions. You don't want your applicant to select another position simply because they communicated more frequently and effectively with some other project. Also, take a minute to get an idea of what it's really like to be a Vista member. You can do a little bit of this by studying the Vista member handbook, researching the benefits, reviewing the terms and conditions. You can also get an idea of some of it by talking to current and former Vista members about what their situation was like as a member. I'll note that Vista members at a recent in-service training, or IST, mentioned that some of them were really upset because their supervisor just doesn't get it. Simply meaning their supervisor doesn't understand what it's like to be a Vista and treats them like they're an intern or just someone to do the busy work, not a Vista member. Don't let that happen. As Brian mentioned earlier, we also mentioned that Vista members may be anxious about finding affordable and safe housing if they relocated. They may be nervous about their Vista member orientation and the required pre-work that they have to do, or they may be a little afraid about how they're going to fit in with the community. Consider what could make individuals anxious and try to help them overcome that. And as you work to support your candidates and members, did you receive a question from an individual that you cannot answer? First, check the Vista Campus website and look in the Vista Member Handbook and on the benefits page. If still in doubt, you can refer candidates to the National Service Hotline. So we have a question for you, and we'll have you posted in the chat as we continue. The question is, what ideas do you think will keep candidates engaged between selection and start date? Once you select your candidate, sometimes it could be a couple of weeks, it could be a month or two or more between when they start service. So go ahead and post in the chat panel now what it is you think could really help keep them engaged and motivated to serve with your project. That way, if you see something that you're excited about or want to try something new, feel free to copy and paste that information on your computer so that you can adjust it and use it for your project. But again, the question is, what ideas do you think will really help keep candidates engaged, and I would say more than engaged, motivated and excited to serve at your Vista project? And as you post that, we'll go ahead and continue with the next couple of slides, and then we may come back to this in a few minutes. So here are some ideas to keep Vista candidates engaged, in addition to some of the ones you're mentioning about continuous contact and other things. First, telephone calls from your supervisor or their on-site and/or project supervisor. We know nowadays a lot of people prefer text to phone calls, but sometimes phone calls can really make a difference. You're hearing someone's voice, they can ask you a question, it's great. Second, weekly email communication about new aspects of the program. You can assign them some pre-work to do and really get them excited in researching about their project. Third, you may want to consider a possible welcome email from the Chamber of Commerce. I know that that's not always as common, but it's a possibility to kind of welcome them to the area. Fourth, send them some details about many attractions to your area. What makes your area exciting and beautiful and wonderful? Why should they want to serve with your project? Fifth, see if you can connect them with other Vista members in the area. It could be former Vista members, it could be current Vista members, but connecting with peers is something people love to do. Sixth, if you know they're relocating or need housing, send them opportunities that you're aware of for affordable, safe, and legitimate housing. And then seventh, there may be something else. But again, that's the idea of why you want to keep in touch with your Vista candidates, as many of you are posting in the chat great ideas, so that if they have questions, they can come to you to get support.
Springtime recruitment is directed more towards upcoming college graduates that attend the Vista member orientation in summer months. You will want to, 1, begin early, 9 to 16 weeks in advance. Starting in the spring works best. 2, be consistent in recruitment efforts, spending an average of 9 hours per week on recruitment. 3, enlist support, subsites, Vista leaders, staff, volunteers. 4, utilize word of mouth, social media, Craigslist or Idealist, your organization's website. 5, recruit for specific skill sets and personality traits, as well as for interest in national service. And 6, develop a clear, well-written VAD. It is critical to success. As with any new person that you will bring on board to your organization, there is a real need for regular connection to ensure that desired outcomes are being addressed and achieved in a timely and effective manner. Put it all together by keeping good records, documenting your procedures, and making corrections as you go, since recruitment is just the beginning. Once you've recruited, you then have the important tasks of maintaining communication with and supporting the applicant all the way through their start and end of service. Use the elements of a recruitment plan to also think about planning for retaining Vista members, because after you do all of the hard work of recruiting a great member, you really do not want to lose them. Plan for the unexpected and build in a little flexibility. Also, incorporate planning for continual support, supervision, and sustainability. You can do it.
Yes, you can, and we know you will. In looking at today's agenda really briefly, we've covered a lot. We've looked at, most recently, recruitment barriers and challenges. We know some of you posted additional recruitment challenges in the chat, which is great, and ways to overcome them. So now we're going to move on to answer a couple of questions and show you some resources on the Vista campus. Then we'll ask you to complete a really short evaluation and provide you some next steps. So as we move to questions, we saw a couple come in the chat panel. We have time for maybe 3 or 4 questions. Go ahead and type them in the chat panel. One of the questions I saw earlier was, is there a list of Vista member orientation dates that's available? The answer is yes. You need to check with your CNCS state or regional office. They can give you a list of specific Vista member orientation dates and deadlines. Not all states may only give you a couple of dates. If there's a specific recruitment window, they may not give you all of them because it's much harder to manage a project with so many inputs. But check with your CNCS state or regional office for that list, and they should be able to work with you around what your deadlines are to get people into those Vista member orientations. The next question, and thank you for the clarification, I mentioned something about potentially assigning people pre-work before they start service. And I will say I wasn't trying to say you should give them homework or force stuff to do, but it was more of a suggestion as if you're trying to find ways to keep candidates engaged between selection and start, you may want to give them optional quote-unquote assignments such as, okay, you're moving to Fargo, North Dakota, here's some websites you might want to look at in terms of what our poverty statistics are, where people live, things like that. So it would be, in my opinion, it would be optional but suggested things to keep them engaged because people want to know what they're getting into and where they're serving and answer some of their questions. But if you have the time and bandwidth to do it, it could be an option. There is another question from Julie about if we could talk more about recruiting in a rural, isolated area. So for the specific sake of time, I won't go into a lot of detail on this. I will first direct you to, it should be up there now. If not, it'll be up there soon. We did a webinar last month specifically on recruiting in rural areas. There are some tips that people shared on that webinar that I think are fabulous that I would recommend. Again, I would also refer back to thinking about what makes your area specific and unique. If it's a beautiful place to go, or if there's things that your rural area may have that others don't. It's quiet, it's serene, people are like a community feeling. Definitely talk it up. Be honest with people about what it doesn't have, but some people are gravitated towards that. And then the last question I'll take now, and then we'll have time for a few questions at the end. I saw a question earlier, and now it's escaping me. The chat's been moving. Oh, there it is. Is there a list of Vista directors? I would love to connect with people offline, or Vista project directors. So we as a Vista program don't, and I don't think we're actually able to publicly post that information because it is technically personal information with names and email addresses and stuff like that. But one of the things you can do, in addition to talking to people on this webinar, is going on to the Vista campus. We are encouraging more people to use the Vista campus discussion forums. It's called the Supervisor Cafe, and you can network with other supervisors and project directors that way. You can also potentially check with your CNCS state or regional office to see if they have a way of communicating with other project directors that doesn't inadvertently disclose information that people may not want publicly. So we'll have a couple minutes for questions and answers at the very end. We want to go through a couple of quick slides before we finish. So first, I'll turn it back over to Brian to talk about some resources and materials we have available on the Vista campus.
Thanks, Eric. So you want resources and materials. We'll get started by exploring the Vista campus resources on recruitment, some of which are located in the helpful links document that you can download using the link posted in the chat panel, along with a copy of today's presentation. If you have not yet visited the Vista Campus website, please do so and create a free account. The Supervisors section of the website contains lots of information, and you will want to navigate to the Members section for details about benefits that you will want to highlight during recruitment. We will highlight a few resources now. Whether these resources are new to you or not, consider how you can adapt these ideas to help you establish and enhance your recruitment plan. Preparing for recruitment, planning for recruitment, recruitment plan worksheet, creating a recruitment plan. And you can use the search field on the Vista campus to search for specific words or resources that you need. The campus contains resources and information posted by Vista headquarters, as well as useful templates and documents from other Vista projects who created materials that can assist others. As you create your recruitment plan, use various resources to help you consider how to make your plan flexible enough to account for challenges and obstacles along the way, but rigid and realistic enough that you follow the plan. And share the plan and resources with other Vista project staff. Remember that if you have seen any great ideas in the chat that you could use and adapt for your project, feel free to copy and paste them. You can use your mouse to highlight specific comments to copy, or you can click in the chat panel and hold down the Control button, then press the letter A to select all. Finally, with Control pressed down, press the letter C to copy them. Then paste them somewhere on your computer. Now we will provide you with a few suggested next steps.
We will not go into them in detail, but you can quickly see on the screen lots of great ideas. Brainstorm ideas with Vista project staff. Write down all the ideas, even the wild ones. You never know what could come of that. You want to draft or update your recruitment plan. Make it flexible so that you can do what you need to and get the recruits that you want. We can't stress enough soliciting input from staff, volunteers, board members, and many others, including people who don't know Vista, because sometimes they can really give you insight as to whether the marketing is effective or not. Start a discussion thread on the supervisor forum of the Vista campus to really connect with other supervisors about recruitment and many other issues. And then, as was just posted in the chat, you can download the helpful links document and take a look at many of the other resources, including the ones that Brian just mentioned that are located on the Vista campus. So with that, we're going to ask you to take a quick minute and do the evaluation that you'll see in the chat panel. When you leave the webinar, you'll also be directed to the evaluation, but we really do value your feedback and really think about what other webinars you'd like to see, including if it's more information about recruitment or VADs. So please, please, please complete the survey, and we'll move on to the second to last slide. As many of you seem to like to join webinars, our next webinar that we'll be promoting, I'm very excited because there's lots of alliteration. I went a little overboard. The Member Management Mambo, Making Moves Matter. It'll be Tuesday, March 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern, and this webinar specifically is for supervisors and project staff who really want to know how do they manage members. It'll cover member and some project management. It'll offer a lot of insight into how the moves you make in this elegant dance of member management can truly matter in terms of retaining Vista members and building up the success of your Vista project. So finally, I want to thank you for joining us on today's webinar. I know this was a lot of information in a very short period of time, so thank you for staying with us. Thank you especially to my wonderful co-presenter, Brian Mitterer, for sharing his tips and ideas based on his experience and all of his knowledge. Thank you again to Barbara Reynolds, who's always a great support. Thank you to Kim and Jeff at LSI for managing webinar technology. And of course, thank you for doing your important and critical work with the Vista program. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.